What's going on, guys? Secret Stream, Halloween. See Baphomet there behind me. Okay, so I'm sure you guys know this, but in case you find yourself in conversation with a Christian fundamentalist or any person that is still defending this atrociously evil mind control device that we have, it's like followed us from the Bronze Age into the present, like an unwanted groupie at an after party. Um, it really is just an awful, horrific book, and it was designed by the Romans to neutralize the Palestinian threat, and we have found documents where they have actually described um, the entire process of planning and their motivation and everything, because the Palestinians were expecting a warrior Messiah, and so they wanted to create pacifists that were very easy to control, and so they created Jesus by he's a composite myth. So there are elements of all of these earlier characters, and not only that, but probably the most damning piece of evidence is that his entire what is it called? His where he went around preaching. Um, I can't remember the word for it. What's up? So his entire, like the route that he took, everywhere that he stopped, follows the battles of Titus, the Roman emperor, his campaign. So it's just, once you have this circumstance where you can actually tell where you have derived all of this stuff from, you would think that people would be able to let it go. And really, honestly, I think that our main opposition to a reasonable, enlightened world where everyone has a fair chance and people have freedom of expression, the number one inhibitor of all of this is Christianity. And there are some remarkable details to this story that some of them are only visible to adepts or at least initiates of the mystery schools. And it is a little bit unfair, when Jesus was saying, you will not understand the parables. And there are also lines like, for he who has eyes to see. People take that to mean that just like believers would be able to perceive these things, but in reality, what he was referencing is initiates of the mystery schools. Also, for example, let he whom hath knowledge or wisdom count the number of a man is an obvious reference to gematria. But if you don't know what gematria is, then you have no chance of decoding these things. And so really it's just further proof of the Roman elite and their the fact that they designed this religion, and they put these things in there for things that the profane are not able to perceive. And so let's start with the Book of Genesis, which begins with the word Barashit in Hebrew, in the beginning. And so right away we have a whole host of problems, because Elohim is the term that is used to describe Jehovah, and Elohim is a masculine form of a feminine plurality. So we're talking about a group of androgynous, or an androgynous group, or a androgynous being, but probably multiple, so maybe a group of men and women or something. We're definitely flirting with the invoking aliens kind of idea, I think, there. And so, what happens? They eat of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, and verily they do not die. They know, like Elohim knows, and that's what the serpent said would happen. So right away we have Jehovah lying and the serpent telling the truth, but yet the story that is pitched from the pulpit is the exact opposite. And even though the book literally says something contrary to what people are being told, they all, mostly because honestly most of the people are not really intelligent enough to read the Bible, because it's written in complicated. I mean, now that they have the dumbed down versions for people, yeah, I mean, yeah, it could definitely be thought of as a social memory complex. Well, kind of, because we're talking about something in the active present. But a description of antinomical energies or something, something other, definitely something other than a man walking around in the Garden of Eden. Also, this idea that the tree was some kind of psychedelic plant. Uh, I think it's even more than that. And I know this is something I've talked about in other videos, but it's this idea that consciousness was the immaterial spark that began the process that ultimately led to the descent of spirit into matter. And of course, our mission now is to redintegrate back into spirit after having become sort of crystallized. Well, the tree does represent that, but it seems also to reference a catalyst. So anyways, I don't want to get too hung up on this part of it. It's important to notice that the misperceptions and contradictions start really early. That the serpent definitely told the truth, and Jehovah was definitely lying, and so moving right along. The next place where we run into some serious cognitive dissonance is where John warns Satan may come as an angel of light. Literally, the next chapter of the book, Jesus comes and says, "My Father who is God, making him an angel, has sent him, and he is the light." That is exactly what John just warned us about in the previous book. And it is absolutely mind-blowing that every single fucking person that hears the story or reads the book doesn't stop there and go, well, wait a minute, obviously this is the devil who has come to deceive everyone. Like, we've been warned about this over and over again, that the devil is this spirit who's evil that pretends to be God. And the first commandment says that, if you shall have no other gods. It doesn't say until my son comes. There's no caveat. So you can't be a Christian without committing blasphemy and breaking the first commandment. So we're already in a heap of shit, and we haven't really gotten very far into the New Testament. And so the second commandment, of course, that you shall have no graven images or likenesses, crosses, pictures of white Jesus, all of this shit is also blasphemy. Nobody notices. I mean, seriously, we are cohabitating this mud ball with some seriously fucking dumb monkeys. Like, they're barely aware. This is not a joke. It does not require any intelligence to be conditioned to go to work and do something stupid and come home and then do that over and over repetitively until you die. That does not require much thought at all. Like, there's really no one home. Anyways, it gets worse, though. It gets a lot worse. So we're also told to beware a wolf in sheep's clothing. And then we continuously refer to this angel who is the light that we were just warned about as the lamb. The wolf in sheep's clothing isn't... So, and I hope you guys are sort of grasping this, that if you were to read the Bible as if you didn't know what it was, just read it, and then what you would take away is the story is what I'm describing. It's not the religion at all. Like, if you just read it, it's obvious that this is what's happening. It's spelled out plain as day. And, obviously, if you look at the impact of the religion around the world, clearly, okay, so now we're back to Jesus again. Judge a man not by his fruits, or not by his intent, but the fruits of his labors. And so, what was left in his wake. And so, if you apply that to Jesus, who has caused more suffering, more death, more torture than all of the dictators in the history of the modern world combined, then who is the evilest man that ever lived? And if the evilest man is the devil, then Jesus is the fucking devil. This is not hard. It's really, really, really clear. Not only that's what this book is saying, but it seems to be literally true. That there is some kind of force connected with all of this, because the only real argument you could make is that Muslims are scarier than Christians, maybe like fundamentalist, extremist Muslims. But I would have to say that it depends on whether you consider historical context or not, because Christians really only stopped burning people alive and chopping their heads off and all of this stuff over religion really 100 years ago or less, because it still happens occasionally. So really, you have this behavior is really present in both demographics. And so, continuing on with the horror story of Jesus, the next, okay, so you shall have no other gods, break the first commandment. John warned about him. Devil, or the wolf in sheep's clothing. Where are we at now? Okay, so there are two other elements that require a little bit of backstory. One of them is that Lucifer, who probably was just the name of this guy that was running against the guy that wrote that part of the Bible in a political office, honestly. His name was Saint Lucifer. Or it was maybe a Babylonian king. But what it represents, I think, actually is consciousness. It's that Promethean urge to enlighten mankind and to spread this kind of higher consciousness. And believe me when I tell you that it is kind of inexplicable if you have this impulse, because like in my own life, nothing else matters really. Like I'm not capable of giving much importance to anything else, which is of course kind of problematic in a lot of ways. But it's true that there is some kind of fundamental archetypal consciousness that seeks to enlighten for whatever reason. And actually, I think that it's not really, like, thinking about it in human terms of like seeking to enlighten. That's not even really it. It's actually, at the end of the day, it is totally a mechanistic thing. It's just oscillations and entrainment, and maybe it has to do with like the age of the soul in question is like oscillating very close to the highest oscillating cycle, and so it's really pulling something along those lines. It's really, I think, the natural impulse of probably every sentient being to compel the rest of consciousness onwards and upwards. And it is only because of the artificial influence of things like Christianity, and especially Christianity, that people lose their orientation in connection with this impulse. And so Lucifer, though, is actually only mentioned in the Bible twice. Once in Ezekiel, where someone says, "How hast thou fallen from heaven, O bright and shining morning star?" And If you actually translate it, though, to the original Hebrew, it doesn't say that. It says like Bin Hillel or something, which is like the son of the morning. It has nothing. It's not. It's not even there in the original Bible. Lucifer's not even a thing. So again, this is really this crazy idea of this like war with Lucifer and this dark angel and all of this shit is just totally fabricated, at least as far as the Bible's concerned. If you were to read it in the original language, it's not even there. But let's just go with this King James version that everyone is acting as if it's like a real thing. I mean, you know how many conspiracy theories and shit are driven by this idea that there are all these Luciferians eating babies and shit, like, and you know, at least as far as the Bible's concerned, there's literally no such thing. And all the elites know that. Like, if you're educated, you know that the Bible is nonsense. So I think, you know, it's really good that we're all thinking outside of the box, but it really doesn't take that much critical thinking to pretty much destroy any popular narrative. You know, one of the rules of thumb that you can live by basically is that if a lot of people believe something, it's probably fucking stupid, and that's the case with the Luciferian you know, blood sacrifice thing and all that. I'm quite confident that it's a bunch of bullshit, but it doesn't mean it's not something else. They're not like, you know, sacrificing to Baal or something. I mean, but they know better. So anyways, Lucifer, right? Let's stick with this King James interpretation, because there's relevant depth to it, I think. Anyways, so Lucifer, how hast thou fallen from heaven? And then later, and this is really interesting because it seems like it's just giving away the plot. And this is something that Christians really have to just selective perception engaged, you know. When God returns in the book of Revelation, at his right hand is Lucifer, not Jesus, for one thing. And the other direct reference, though, to Lucifer is when Jesus says, I am the bright and shining morning star. And if you read it in the Latin Vulgate, it's, I am Lucifer. And so there's a lot to kind of unpack there, because in my interpretation of all of this, what they were really trying to do is demonize the essential, the fundamental spark of consciousness, to make people afraid of their own intellect, because, you know, it is actually a gateway to spirituality. And this is something that all of the major religions and spiritual teachers, because you guys, I hate to tell you this, but most of these spiritual teachers are just monkeys repeating shit that other monkeys said, and it doesn't mean that it's true at all. You know, just because they have a newspaper wrapped around their head doesn't mean they're deep. And so this, you know, only through your heart shit, you know, follow your heart and nothing else, and you might find yourself blowing up a fucking building in the Middle East or something. The pentagram has to be balanced. The intellect is one of the major gateways to spiritual knowledge, and you have to harmonize these chakras or these points in the pentagram, or however you want to think of them. And I think that, you know, our intelligence is one of the main faculties by which we can free ourselves, obviously. And so this demonization of consciousness that begins in the book of Genesis, I don't really like that Jesus identifies himself as Lucifer at the end of the book, because I kind of like the idea of Lucifer and the spark, the immaterial spark. I don't want Jesus to ruin it. But it's interesting that the only two places in the Bible where Lucifer is mentioned are Ezekiel and Revelation, and in one of the cases, Jesus is actually using the title for himself. And then the last bit of interesting Bible trivia for tonight's secret stream is the gematria, which if you guys were watching the music stream I did earlier, I explained this already, but it's worthy of note and memorization even, so I'll repeat it. Gematria is, as I'm sure you guys know, the science and art of Hebrew. It's not restricted to Hebrew, but it began with Hebrew. Every Hebrew character is a number and a letter, and so different phrases are added together in order to yield numerical relationships that can be interpreted to yield secrets of a mystical nature and to see connections. And I think really the greatest utility of it is that it's not the phrases that are uncovered, it's that are telling you secrets. It could be, but I think what the real value of it is that you encounter things working with gematria that are so indicative of some kind of intelligence that is present in the wiring under the board, the fundamental mechanics of the universe. And, you know, so for example, in my life, the DMT story is the best gematria that I have. And also, you know, also with my name, when I had started to suspect that I was the reincarnation of Aleister Crowley, and then my roommate, before I had said anything, he had said it actually, I think. He came out of his room and said, "Hey, you need to see this," and he had punched my name in a gematria calculator, and it said, "He whom is Aleister Crowley." So that was weird, but not as weird as this DMT story. So I've had chronic fatigue syndrome for a very long time, and it has made my life very, very difficult. And I got a hold of some DMT at a Tool concert and smoked it, and I noticed one day that the symptoms from the chronic fatigue were just gone. And I thought, well, I should punch this into the gematria calculator and see what happens. So I put in N-dimethyltryptamine, and the only phrase in the database was cure for chronic fatigue syndrome. And so, you know, that was pretty much, when you're dealing with something with where the possibility of coincidence is really as improbable as that situation, I mean, that's like really, really fucking crazy. It's I would take that as a suggestion. There's something to it. So the number 9 has a function. Like, all numbers are living entities, and by living entities, what we actually mean is energetic processes. And so, you know, like, if you even think of yourself and the things that you interact with and the mark that you leave on them, you are a process with certain idiosyncrasies and certain tendencies and certain proclivities, and these are going to determine the outcome of your interactions with other energetic systems. And so numbers are the same. And every number contains infinity, right? You can divide a number, what is it, by itself, and it's infinity. So quantity is not what numbers is about. That actually doesn't make sense when you think about the fact that they're all in there. It's not really. It also is one of those proofs that the all is indeed in the all, and it speaks to the holographic nature of the universe. And also, everything contains its contradiction, right? We have this fixed symbol, which is supposed to be 2, but it contains its contradiction, which is infinity, which is not fixed. It's basically just movement. And so anyways, 9 has the function of ascertaining truth, because if you multiply anything by the truth, right, like, it's going to be truth. It's kind of like multiplying by 0. Anything you multiply by 0 is going to be 0. So, you know, the truth has that same shadow dispensing kind of quality. And so the 9 is having this function, and the way that you can see it is, if you multiply any multiple of 9, it all adds up to 9 again. no matter how big the numbers get. So if you start with the truth, like where it begins usually determines where it ends, right? And so if you start with the truth, you're going to end with the truth. And so once you have ascertained the number of, say, Jesus Christ, or Messiah or serpent, and then you multiply it by 9 in Hebrew, they're all 666. And so it's really the final proof that is actually written in plain sight and thinly veiled. And it's really also interesting to consider how many initiates there are running around amongst us. And every single fucking one of them understands this reference and knows what it's about. And that would include all the Catholics, all the Catholic priests. I don't mean all the lay Catholics, but all of the, and certainly all the Freemasons in the world and all of the magicians and all of any serious occultist is aware that this reality, that this character of Jesus was this tremendous deception, that it was from day one, very much in plain sight and just veiled by this very, very, the hint is not vague. It's pretty direct. I mean, it doesn't take much to figure out that it's a reference to gematria. Multiplying by 9, however, whoa, look at this fucking thing. You guys see that? Holy shit. I guess it's just like a giant katydid. It's listening. Like, yeah, fuck Jesus. So, that's it basically, you guys. I just, I think it's good to know this stuff. And it's good to have it in your arsenal if you find yourself engaged. No, the bug was, I think, a katydid, they're called. I called them katydids. So when they rub their legs together, it kind of sounds like katydid. Oh, there it goes, actually. They don't sound like katydid here. That was definitely not a katydid sound. I don't know. It's a big green bug. Really big, though. It's probably 5 inches long. At any rate, guys, I actually think I'm going to jump on and play a couple more songs because I did not raise the $300 I was trying to raise with the music. Cody Coin, which, you're in on a little bit, Eric, is just fucking flying. Honestly, it's at 31 million market cap, and I expect it to hit 3 billion probably. So that's good, but the thing is, I cannot take any out, and we're out of cash, so I'm like, fuck. So that's why I'm just gonna keep doing the music live streams and try to provoke people to, because I can't dip into it, because what they're gonna do is, and if you can get it, still get it. It's still worth it, I think. But that's the thing. 10 million now would be $3,000. They're going to airdrop revenue from their other stuff to the people that have 10 million or more. So I can't sell any. So we have to, I'm scrambling to make cash quick. So, and you guys as patrons, that'll actually be there tomorrow, which will save our asses. So thank you guys as well for your support, because that actually, I had forgotten about that. And that'll pretty much do it, because for the time being, we don't really need a lot to get by, and we just need, I think, within 2 weeks to 30 days, this is going to be a lot of goddamn money. So might be doing these live streams from California sooner than later. We will have to stay here for 3 months in the Amazon, which is great, and then head back to Northern California. And it looks like Cody Coin is going to take care of it finally. So stoked, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon.